I do not type with my hands, I type with my heart. I do not review with my heart, I review with my mind. Was that cheesy sounding? Hell yeah. But if I had Idris Elba reading it, it might have sounded pretty damn profound. I'm afraid that's going to be a theme tonight. Actors who take bad things and make them better. So let's get started. Welcome to the heart of the stories we tell. My name is Rob, and tonight I will be reviewing The Dark Tower. Now, some people are calling it Stephen King's The Dark Tower, but after watching the movie, I'm very afraid to use that phrase, because the Kings are awesome, and, well, there's a lot to unpack. So let's just get started with the fact that I do weekly reviews of TV shows, movie reviews, and videos on storytelling stuff. So if you like that sort of thing, hit that subscribe button, and let's get started talking about how good and bad this was. I went in as a fan, but I went in with my eyes open. An hour-and-a-half movie to do this was never going to be enough. But I really like adaptions, and as such, was going to give it the benefit of the doubt. After hearing some things, I was like, oh, maybe it's going to be a silver. Unfortunately, no. This movie's getting a copper rating, which is one of the lower ones I give. Let me give a little bit of an explanation here. First of all, like I said, I understand adaptions are a little bit different than the direct story. I did a whole video on it where I used G.I. Joe as my focus, but at the end of the day, where those movies I tried to defend, and I tried to defend a lot of these things, there's just this problem of there was too much source material, too much confusing stuff. Stephen King wrote a story that was extremely complex about the multiverse, about the idea of redemption, about what happens when you put your own quest in front of the people you care about. And he created an entire world, and they kinda just tried their best to cut that into an hour-and-a-half movie. And I also get how totally hard it would be to adapt this series. Not A Song of Fire and Ice hard, but still hard. And they came up with the greatest excuse ever. In fact, I think Stephen King's a genius for this. There is a cyclic nature to The Dark Tower. Things have happened before and will happen again. And this time, Roland has the horn. If you don't get that reference, you haven't read the books. But what that means is that this isn't so much the adaptation as the sequel to The Dark Tower, but it's still so light on theme and symbolism that the book is so full of. And Randall Flagg is one of my favorite Stephen King creations. This movie spends a lot of time setting up the cinematic universe that is Stephen King's, but at the same time, all of their world building just seems to almost fall flat on itself. And that's not to say there's nothing good about this movie. Every actor and actress in it is giving it their all. And like I said at the beginning, Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey deserve huge thumbs up for taking things that are more than a little cheesy, way too contrived, and just outright confusing, and delivering them in such a way as to still make them badass. It might just be the best movie we could have expected from The Dark Tower, but at the same time, I can't help but feel disappointed. So was this slightly below average? Yeah, it really was. Was it something worth seeing? Yeah, probably. It's still fun, it still has a bunch of cool elements to it, and the actors rock and the action is well paced. The overall problem is the writing. But enough about that, let's get into the weeds and try to do a quick review. But, gotta throw this up there first. So once again, it's stop. Spoiler time. Like I said, Idris Elba knocked it out of the park. Great actor, picked up all the mannerisms, delivered lines that should have been cheesy and did it well. The only thing that he had going against him is that, yes, the character was supposed to be Clint Eastwood, but Clint Eastwood got too old to play Clint Eastwood, so deal with it. As for the whole deal with the horn of Eld never showed up, really. It was just sitting in his backpack the whole time. Was really hoping for more. But alright, let's get started with the setting. It's a multiverse setting, and New York City modern day is one of the two settings we go to. And then we have the Wasteland. The Wasteland's where most of the action takes place, but not all of it. And again, it's set more or less today. The Wasteland is a post-apocalyptic future, and it's on a different planet, not even Earth. Now, about the characters. Bet you thought I'd start with Gunslingers or the Man in Black, right? Nope. See, there's this kid, Jake Chambers, and he's psychic. In the world of the Dark Tower, that means that he has the shine. So they don't really explain much about the shine, but I actually like that. That's not the homework that I have a problem with in this movie. Jake is acted very well by a child actor. He's believable, and the trauma he went through makes so much sense why no one believes him. I mean, the whole setup in New York is about this kid. And you know what? Everything about him is perfect, except for the fact that he's not the character we want to see. We want to see the gunslinger and the Man in Black. So let's talk that Man in Black. He's pretty cool. Matthew McConaughey plays him well, even though I've seen him played before.
The war is over, old friend. Everyone you ever loved has died by my hand.
When he has the chance to play terrifying, he does it well. The problem is that the movie doesn't give him the chance to be terrifying. Now, when it does, he does it well. Just walking the streets of New York, he radiates power. The things he just offhand says that causes mischief and death all around him is awesome. But then in the end, well, it just turns into a superhero slugfest. And, it's not exactly the way I personally see the Man in Black going down. Those of you that waited to see if there was an after-credit scene, that whistling you heard does play at the end, but no scene. But alright, on to who should have been the main character. Our gunslinger. And it's so hard for me not to talk about how much cooler he was in the book. Alright, in the trailer, one of the things they cut out is that mantra he has about, I don't shoot with my hand, I don't aim with my hand, I don't kill with my gun. In between each line, he says someone that does that is someone who's forgotten the face of their father. And I thought they might have taken that out because it does sound a little cheesy without a full explanation. But I have to say, one of the funnier scenes of the movie, one that actually got me to giggle a little in the theater, was him telling a bunch of rather slutty women they've forgotten the face of their fathers, and them not getting it. Because seriously, who would get that? It's almost like the movie is intentionally telling us, yeah, we understand that you don't understand what's going on, and neither does anyone else. But if you watched any of the trailers, you thought the setup was this, right here, these two facing off in a mental and physical encounter. And, well, I won't ruin the whole thing, but it just doesn't happen that way. So let's talk about the plot for a minute. With very few exceptions, it's a linear plot, although that's a little hard to pull off because it's a multiverse story, so I mean, there's some stuff going on, and of course psychic flashbacks. As for what the plot itself actually is, okay, people are going to come out of the theater not understanding this, but the Dark Tower is the access point of the multiverse. It is also the protector of the multiverse. The paladins that protected it were known as gunslingers. The gunslingers were supposed to stop the Man in Black from being able to tear down that tower to let in the King in forget the Crimson King because he just doesn't even play into this, except we see his name in graffiti. And the whole story is supposed to be this whole duality with this whole thematic structure of father figures. I'm sorry, I'm going off. The plot itself is Roland trying to stop the Man in Black, kill him for revenge, stop him from getting the tower, and Roland is obsessed with the tower. And every time Roland gets obsessed with the tower, bad things happen. Now, that's a little hard to pull off. So I don't think they did it too well. There will be some smartass out there who describes this as a buddy cop movie between a kid with psychic powers and a U.S. Marshal. You mark my words. That's going to be one of the jokes. But okay, let's talk about point of view. So the two point of view characters are Roland and Jack. But mostly Jack. Everything we see through his point of view. Even the jokes about Roland not fitting in on Earth are all pretty much set within Jack's point of view. And that's a little ho-hum. I had really hoped for Roland to be the main point of view. After all, the Man in Black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed. The two of them were, again, just missing. Let's talk about theme and symbolism. I'll try not to cry too much while I do this. Ugh.
Death always wins.
So it's basically good versus evil, where the good guy's a little bit hardcore and has to be convinced by the young kid that it's okay to be the good guy because he still has the strong heart of it. And that's every fantasy movie ever. They do kind of get the hopelessness in there, the fact that one of them is way more powerful than the other, and that it's just almost an overwhelming impossibility for the gunslinger to win.
No matter what you do, the tower will fall.
It's a bit too on the nose, but they do try to do this whole father symbolism thing, where the person that Roland is haunted by is his father. The thing that made Jake's powers come out as a kid is watching his father die. The fact that he has a wicked stepdad. The fact that everything in this movie revolves around father figures, when Roland is going to become the father figure for Jake. Yep, every fantasy novel ever. Okay, the books have a lot more symbolism and theme in it. And one of the big themes is one of the things they don't even talk about, but the Ka Tut. The whole idea of you having a destiny, but getting to choose your destiny. And the fact that the destiny that you were born to isn't necessarily the destiny you have to have. And that the people you interact with and the people you choose to live around all influence your destiny. And that's just, it's so important. And that Roland has to choose between the destiny he wants and the destiny he has to have. The fact that in this movie, at no point does he ever have to choose, will I kill the man in black, will I protect the tower, or will I let this person die? Because every single point, it all lines up perfectly. Oh, you want your revenge? Don't worry, to get your revenge, you just need to protect the kid. Don't worry, to get your revenge, you just need to save the kid. Don't worry, to get your revenge, all you need to do is save the tower. It's all the same thing. Alright, it's time to really get down to brass tacks here. The good, the bad, and the ugly. If you're a Stephen King fan and you've been waiting for this, this is going to feel great, because there's a lot of feel-good moments for the fans. Some of these things aren't explained so well. One of the greatest is that pledge that they talk about. The gunslinger's oath, 2 or 3 times we hear it, and every time Idris Elba makes it sound badass. Even though it's a little on the ridiculous side, and it's really not explained too well. Let's hear it.
I do not aim with my hand, I aim with my eye. I do not shoot with my hand, I shoot with my mind. I do not kill with my gun, I kill with my heart.
All of the special effects aren't great. Some of them look like they could use another pass, maybe an extra $1 million thrown in here or there, which this movie wouldn't make back, so I understand. But every time he shoots, those scenes are beautiful. And the reloading scenes. There's a scene where he just goes into a gun shop in New York and gets all the bullets, which is beautiful because bullets are rare on his world. There's a whole thing about it. They actually semi-explain that one. But at the end of the day, even watching him reload before that, when he speed loads, when he throws things around, it is beautifully done. In fact, every time he moves, his movements are magical and make me sit there and go, oh, now that's Roland. All the actors and actresses did great, but Matthew McConaughey plays evil on a psychopathic level. Just with his look, just with a gesture, he just reeks of evil. I felt that he was the Man in Black in this, even if by the end I didn't think they did him well. I don't want to do this. Alright, the bad. Alright, I try not to give anyone crap about exposition. I said it in one of my other videos earlier. At the end of the day, sometimes you have to tell, not show. And as a writer, I have no idea how I would have done it better. But it had to be done better. There's literally a scene where the Man in Black is explaining that Roland's guns are forged from Excalibur. And the way he does it is by talking to pretty much himself about Roland, and uses the fact that on our Earth, that isn't that special in this, it was called Excalibur. Much better exposition has been called out for being atrocious in the past. And point blank, I again, in the framework they have, I don't know how it would have been done better, but they needed to have someone at least tell it to someone else. And then, I mean, there's a lot of things, though, that just got lost on the audience. That horn is so unimportant to anyone who doesn't know what's going on. And, I don't mind doing a little bit of homework, and I know the story, so I know what's going on. But at the same time, we have these things that just come up with no explanation. I guarantee you, there were a lot of people that left the theater going, I don't get it. What's the difference between being psychic and being magic? Is the Man in Black using shine, too? Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if there were people that thought that the Midworld was a post-apocalyptic Earth and that it was supposed to be our future. And don't even get me started with this symbol and the Crimson King that is barely even a side mention for a second. I mean, there's a lot of things that people just aren't going to get. And it's so a shame, because this story, this world, is so beautifully well written. In fact, I went into it wondering if, with another It movie coming out, if they were going to make the Derry reference, and if they were going to explain that the Crimson King might actually be it. Which brings us to the ugly. The ugly. Someone sat in a office, someone who is more talented than me, someone who is a better, more loved writer than me, someone who gets paid to do what I want to do, and came up with the idea that we're going to just say out loud, the Man in Black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed. That's right, when translating the most famous opening phrase in a Stephen King novel, they decided that for their visual medium, they would have a narrator just say it. And at no point did someone say, hey, wait a minute, maybe, since we're adapting the Stephen King story, we should actually just start the story with a close-up on the Man in Black walking, and then zoom all the way back as the gunslinger followed, and then pick up from there, right? No one had that thought? But the true ugly is that this movie created the cardinal sin of movies, about stories in general. At the end of the day, I didn't feel anything. Yeah, there was some excitement. There was even a little bit of giddiness to see something that I read up on the screen. But realistically, I never connected with any of them. Scene after scene, well acted, but poorly written, at no point touched the part of me that sat there and wanted me to be afraid, that wanted me to be hopeful, that wanted me to be angry, that wanted me to root for the good guys. This was such a paint-by-numbers plot when it shouldn't have been. This should have reached out and touched, especially, I mean, the story of Jake is a story of loss, is the story of coming of age, is the story of why it is that we tell stories like The Dark Tower. And it all just was so flat, because every way you looked, it was just more paint-by-numbers. Oh yeah, so now this is going to happen. So now that's going to happen. And, of course, even in the end, instead of having a really tough decision to make, Roland just shoots the Man in Black. The end. Yes, it was kind of a trick shot. Yes, there was a little more to the scene, because it was using the shine, and there was the oath, and it just was so blah. Roland gets to have his revenge and save the kid, because you shouldn't have to make a choice, you shouldn't have to grow as a character or realize what you did was wrong in a previous life, or explain that there's cycles. Having recorded this now, I'm even more bummed. I think we have officially reached the point where hell is frozen over, because I agree with the Rotten Tomatoes scores. I think maybe it should have been a little bit higher, and it will be once the audience scores come in, but this story was not that good. If you're a fan, go support it, though, because maybe we'll get a better movie next time. But for now, I'd like to ask you to do me a quick favor. I'm assuming a few of you have just clicked on this because it's your first time hearing me talk, and I do these types of things normally a little more upbeat. So, like and share this video, and if you haven't already, subscribe and click that little notification bell. Because what I'm trying to do here is build a community where I examine stories. I do weekly TV show reviews, I try to catch as many movies as I can to review, and every Sunday night, Monday morning, I put up another theory on how we tell stories and why we tell stories. So for now, I hope that you have many bright days and safe nights, and thank you for walking with me through the heart of the stories we tell.